The observation deck of the New Dawn hummed with the gentle vibration of faster-than-light engines. 12-year-old Geo had his face pressed against the reinforced window, watching colors he had no names for swirl through the purple nebula outside. His breath fogged the glass. Beautiful, isn't it? His mother stood behind him, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. Mom, do you think the new colony will have skies like this? Geo asked without looking away from the cosmic display. Maybe even more beautiful, she replied. Earth is wonderful, but there's so much more out here to... The ship lurched violently. Geo's head cracked against the window. Alarms began screaming throughout the vessel, a sound he'd only heard during drills. Emergency lights bathed everything in pulsing red. All passengers to escape pods. This is not a drill. The captain's voice crackled over the speakers, barely audible over the chaos. Geo's mother grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the corridor. Other colonists ran past them, some carrying children, others helping the elderly. Smoke filled the air. Something had torn a massive hole in the outer hull 3 decks below. Mom, what's happening? Geo coughed as acrid smoke burned his throat. Don't talk. Just run. They reached the escape pod bay. His mother's hand shook as she entered the access code. The door slid open with agonizing slowness. She practically threw Geo inside the small spherical pod designed for 2 people. Get in the harness. Now! She was climbing in behind him when the ship shook again. This time, the impact was different, deliberate. Something was cutting through the hull with precision. Through the pod's small window, Geo saw them. Massive reptilian creatures in armor that seemed to shimmer and shift. They moved through the corridor with weapons raised, firing at anything that moved. Their scales were dark as midnight, and their eyes glowed with an amber light that spoke of ancient intelligence and cruelty. One of them spotted the pod bay. It raised its weapon toward them. I love you, his mother whispered, pushing the emergency launch button. Mom, no, you're not strapped in. The pod exploded from the ship. Through the window, Geo watched the New Dawn growing smaller. He saw more of those creatures, draconids, his mind supplied from half-remembered history lessons, tearing through the ship's corridors. He saw escape pods launching. He saw some of those pods explode as draconid weapons found them. He saw his mother still standing in the pod bay, watching him escape. She raised her hand in farewell just as energy weapons lit up the corridor behind her. Then the New Dawn exploded in a bloom of fire that looked almost gentle against the purple nebula. Geo screamed. He screamed until his throat was raw. He screamed until darkness took him. When consciousness returned, everything was wrong. The air tasted like metal and old stone. The darkness was absolute, not the darkness of space, but something heavier. Something that pressed down on him like a physical weight. Geo tried to move and found himself lying on a cold floor. Not metal. Stone. He reached out, feeling rough walls on all sides. A cell. He was in a cell. Hello. His voice cracked. Is anyone there? No response. Just the echo of his own words dying in the darkness. Then light bloomed, not from any visible source, but from symbols carved into the black stone walls around him. They glowed with a soft blue light that grew stronger as he looked at them. The strange thing was, Geo could read them. He shouldn't be able to. The script was nothing like any human language he'd studied, but the meanings appeared in his mind as clearly as if they were written in plain English. Danger. Containment. Forever. Where am I? Geo whispered to himself. The Forbidden Citadel. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Deep. Ancient. It resonated in Geo's chest like the lowest note of an organ. Welcome to the place where the Draconid Empire hides its greatest fears. Young one. Geo scrambled to his feet, pressing his back against the stone wall. Who's there? Show yourself. I cannot. I am imprisoned, as you are. My name is Vareth. I have been held in this place for 10,000 years. And you, child, are human. How do you know what I am? That sound again, like laughter, but layered with harmonics that made Geo's teeth ache. How could I not recognize your kind? Your species built the foundations of this universe. The Draconids thought you extinct, scattered, powerless. Yet here you are, breathing and alive, in the one place in all the galaxy where humans should never be. I don't understand any of this. Geo's legs felt weak. He slid down the wall until he was sitting. My mother, the ship, everyone's dead. Yes, the Draconids are thorough in their cruelty. But tell me, young one, what is your name? Geo. Vera seemed to taste the name. How did you come to be here? I don't know. I was in an escape pod. Then I woke up here. They brought you here deliberately. Not to any normal prison. Not to their capital. Here, to the Citadel. Veritha's voice grew thoughtful. They recognize what you are. Perhaps not consciously, but some instinct must have warned them. What I am, I'm just a kid. You are human. That is anything but just in this galaxy, child. The lights flickered. The glowing symbols on Geo's wall dimmed, then suddenly blazed much brighter. Throughout what must have been a massive structure, Geo heard the groan of metal and stone under impossible stress. What's happening? Geo stood again, reaching out to touch the wall. No, don't. But Geo's hand was already pressed against the stone. Where his skin made contact, the symbols flared white-hot. Cracks spread from his palm like lightning frozen in rock. The barrier, some kind of energy field he hadn't even noticed, sparked and weakened. Veritha's voice filled with something between hope and terror. Impossible. You touched the seal. You're affecting it. Your very presence is breaking containment protocols that have held for millennia. Geo jerked his hand back, but the damage was spreading. Throughout the Citadel, alarms began to wail, sounds that spoke of catastrophic system failures. In cells he couldn't see, in containment units scattered across the massive prison, seals that had never failed began to crack and weaken. Boy, Joe, listen to me carefully. Veritha's voice grew urgent. You have done what an entire invasion fleet could not. You have begun to free us all. The guard will come for you now. They will kill you to stop this cascade before more prisoners escape. But if you can reach my chamber, if you can finish what you have accidentally started, I can protect you. Why would you help me? I don't even know what you are. Because you are what we have been waiting for. Humanity has returned to the stars. And the Draconid Empire should be very, very afraid. Heavy footsteps echoed in a corridor Geo couldn't see. Multiple sets moving fast. He heard voices shouting in a language of clicks and hisses. Orders being given, weapons being charged. The distinctive whine of energy rifles powering up filled the air. The door to his cell began to slide open. Amber eyes gleamed in the darkness beyond. Geo pressed himself against the far wall, his heart hammering. Whatever happened next would determine if he lived or died. And somehow, he knew it would determine far more than just his own fate. The Draconid guards filled the doorway of Geo's cell. They were taller than any human. Their bodies covered in scales that looked like polished obsidian. Each one wore armor that seemed to shift colors in the dim light. The lead guard was the largest, with scarred scales across his snout and amber eyes that fixed on Geo with cold calculation. Containment breach detected. The guard's voice came out as a growl mixed with clicks. Neutralize the human before. Every light in the facility died at once. The sudden darkness was absolute and terrifying. Then emergency systems kicked in, flooding everything with blood-red light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The lead guard's weapon sparked in his clawed hands, then went completely dark. Dead. What? The guard looked at his useless rifle in confusion. Run, Geo. Veritha's voice boomed through the corridor, seeming to come from the walls themselves. Down the corridor, third door on the left. Go now. Geo didn't stop to think. Pure instinct took over. He ducked low and ran straight between confused guards' legs. They were so surprised by the sudden darkness and their failing equipment that they didn't react fast enough. One guard grabbed at him, but Geo twisted away, his smaller size an advantage in the cramped cell. He burst into the corridor beyond. Red emergency lights revealed a hallway that stretched in both directions, lined with cell doors identical to his own. Behind him, the guard were shouting. He heard the snap hiss of backup, weapons being activated. Geo ran left, his feet slapping against the stone floor. He counted doors as he passed them. 1, 2, 3. The third door was different from the others, larger, covered in chains that looked ancient, and marked with warning symbols that glowed even in the red light. This one, Jiho gasped. Yes! Touch it! Behind him, something exploded with a deafening roar. The shockwave knocked Jiho forward against the door. He heard draconid voices screaming in pain and confusion. More alarms joined the first, creating a wall of sound that made his ears ring. Jiho pressed both hands against the massive door. The same thing happened as before. The symbols flared with white light. The chains simply fell away, clattering to the floor as if they had never been locked at all. The door, which must have weighed tons, swung open as easily as a curtain. The chamber beyond was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness far above. In the center of the vast space floated a sphere of pure white light, about the size of a car. It pulsed gently, and Jiho could feel warmth radiating from it even from the doorway. You did it. The light spoke with Veritha's voice, but clearer now, stronger. You actually did it. Come inside, quickly. Close the door. Jiho stumbled into the chamber. The door swung shut behind him, and he heard heavy locks engaging, but from the inside this time, keeping others out rather than keeping something in. What are you? Jiho stared at the sphere of light. I am what your people once called a guardian, created by the makers, by ancient humans, to protect their legacy, to wait for the day when humanity would return to the stars. The sphere pulsed brighter. Do you understand what you are, child? What your species truly is? I'm just a kid from Earth. I don't have any special powers, or... You open seals that have held for 10,000 years, with a touch, without training, without even trying. Verith moved closer, and Jiho felt the warmth increase. Your people were called makers because reality itself bends to your will. You shape the universe simply by existing in it. Jiho shook his head. That's crazy. If humans were so powerful, why did the Draconids kill us so easily? Why couldn't we stop them? Because you forgot. Your ancestors scattered themselves across the cosmos to escape a war that nearly destroyed everything. They hid their power, suppressed it, became normal so they could survive. But the genes remain. The potential waits. And you, Jiho, you are awakening. Another explosion rocked the citadel. Dust fell from the ceiling high above. The red emergency lights flickered. This prison holds others like me, Vera continued. Beings of Draconid Empire deemed too dangerous to exist freely. Some were warriors. Some were scholars. All of us refuse to submit to their rule. Your touch is waking the entire facility. Every seal is weakening. Is that bad? Some of the prisoners will help us. Others... Veritha's light dimmed slightly. Others were imprisoned for good reason. There are monsters here, child. Real monsters. As if summoning them with his words, a roar echoed through the citadel. Not a draconid roar. Something deeper, more primal. It made Jiho's bones vibrate. What was that? Trouble. We need allies. There's someone. The door to the chamber burst open. Jiho spun, expecting guards. Instead, a single draconid stood there, female, based on a more slender build and the patterns on her scales. She wore an officer's armor, but her weapon was lowered, not aimed at him. Human child, she said in accented but clear English. My name is Commander Minji. I am not here to harm you. She lies. Veritha's voice turned sharp. She served the Empire. I served, Minji corrected, stepping into the chamber. Past tense. I have seen the classified records. I know what the Empire did to your people. What we did to dozens of species who refused to kneel. Her amber eyes met Jiho's. I cannot serve such an empire any longer. How convenient, Vera said. A crisis of conscience at exactly this moment. Minji's scales flushed darker. Embarrassment or anger, Jiho couldn't tell. Believe what you want, Guardian. But the AI has detected what it calls a Class Omega threat. It has initiated the facility's self-destruct protocol. We have less than 2 hours before this entire citadel and everyone in it is vaporized. Jiho felt his stomach drop. What? Why? Because you're here. Because you're human. Because the last time humans walked free in this galaxy, they reshaped reality itself. Minji moved closer, her movements slow and non-threatening. The AI's core programming says that any Maker presence is an extinction-level threat. It will kill everyone here, prisoner and guard alike, rather than risk you escaping. That's insane. That's fear, Vera said quietly. They built their empire on the graves of your people. The thought of humanity returning terrifies them down to their genetic code. Another explosion, much closer this time. The floor shook. Somewhere in the facility, something massive was breaking free. We have to stop it, Gio said. We can't let everyone die. Noble, Minji said, but the self-destruct can only be stopped from the central core. That's 20 levels down, through corridors filled with automated defenses, security drones, and whatever prisoners are escaping their cells. Then we go down. Jiho surprised himself with how steady his voice sounded. We stop it together. You would save your enemies? Vareth asked. Gio thought of his mother pushing him into the escape pod. He thought of the new dawn exploding. He thought of all the people who had died. I would save innocent people, even if some of them are draconids. He looked at Minji. Not everyone who serves a bad system is bad themselves. Right. Minji's scales flushed again, but this time it seemed like relief. Right. Then let's go. Vareth's sphere of light began to move toward the door. But be warned, both of you. The corridor shook as another section of the citadel collapsed somewhere above them. Dust rained down from cracks, spreading across the ceiling. Minji led the way through the maze of passages, her knowledge of the facility's layout keeping them away from the worst damage. Vareth floated behind Gio, his sphere of light providing illumination beyond the flickering emergency systems. They were on level 3 when they encountered the first freed prisoner. The creature stood nearly 10 feet tall, covered in what looked like gray stone. Its eyes glowed with a soft green light. When it saw them, it moved to block their path. Peace, Teo, Vera called out. These are allies. The stone creature's voice rumbled like grinding boulders. A guardian speaks for a draconid and a human child? Strange times. The strangest, Vera agreed. The boy is trying to stop the self-destruct. Will you help? Teo considered this, his massive head tilting. I was imprisoned for refusing to build weapons for the Empire. If the child truly opposes them, then yes, I will help. They continued downward. At level 5, they found another freed prisoner, a being of pure energy that flickered between blue and white, roughly human-shaped but constantly shifting. I am Sora. The energy being's voice sounded like wind chimes. I heard your conversation. I too will join you. Why? Jiho asked. You don't know me. Sora drifted closer. I was imprisoned 3,000 years ago for the crime of teaching other species about their rights. The Empire hates anyone who spreads ideas of freedom. If you oppose them, you oppose everything I fought against. Their group grew as they descended. A feline creature with silver fur, a being that looked like living water, a small reptilian with wings who spoke in riddles. Each level brought new allies, prisoners who had suffered under the Empire's rule, and now saw a chance for something better. By level 12, they were a dozen strong. Minji led them through a large chamber filled with broken equipment. The core is 8 levels below us, but we need to move faster. The countdown shows 90 minutes remaining. That's when the chamber's main entrance exploded inward. Draconid soldiers poured through, but these were different from the guards they'd encountered before. These wore royal purple armor and moved with perfect coordination. Elite troops. Behind them came someone who made even Teo seem small. She stood nearly 12 feet tall, her scales gold instead of black, with wings folded against her back. A crown of crystallized energy floated above her head. The Empress of the Draconid Empire had arrived. There you are, little human. Her voice was beautiful and terrible at once. You caused quite the disruption to my prison. Gio stood his ground, though his legs wanted to run. Your prison? These people didn't deserve to be locked up. The Empress laughed. Didn't deserve it? Child, do you know what we prevent? Chaos. Anarchy. Before the Empire brought order, the galaxy was drowning in endless wars. We created peace. You created tyranny, Sora said, her energy form crackling with anger. Peace through oppression is not true peace. Philosophy from a criminal. The Empress's eyes fixed on Jiho again. But you, little maker, you are special. You're the first human we've found with active genes. Do you know what that means? It means you're afraid. Vareth answered for him. Afraid? No. Interested. The Empress smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Your parents were researchers, weren't they, Jiho? Studying ancient sites on the colony worlds. Jiho's heart clenched. How do you know about my parents? Because I ordered their deaths. The Empress said it so casually, as if discussing the weather. They found something they shouldn't have. Evidence that humanity once ruled this galaxy. Evidence that the Draconid Empire built itself on the ruins of human civilization. We couldn't let that information spread. You killed them because of information? Jiho's voice shook. I've killed billion for less, child. Your parents knew the truth about what we've been doing. Mining human colonies for genetic material. Trying to unlock the Maker abilities and weaponize them. They were about to publish their findings. I couldn't allow it. Rage exploded in Jiho's chest like a star going nova. The walls around them didn't just crack. They shattered. Pieces of stone lifted into the air, defying gravity. The emergency lights brightened until they were as intense as the sun. Every Draconid soldier stumbled back, their weapons sparking and dying in their hands. Control it, Vareth shouted. Jiho, control your emotions or you'll bring this entire place down on us. But Jiho barely heard him. His vision had narrowed to the Empress, to the being who had casually admitted to murdering his family. Power flowed through him, responding to his fury. He could feel the citadel around him like an extension of his own body. He could break it all, destroy everything. Yes, the Empress whispered. Show me that power. Show me what humans can really do. Sora moved in front of Jiho, her energy form blocking his view of the Empress. Jiho, listen to me. She wants this. She wants you to lose control. That's why she told you about your parents. She's baiting you. They're dead because of her. Tears streamed down Jiho's face. They're dead, Sora agreed gently. And nothing will bring them back. But you can honor them by being better than their killer. Don't give her what she wants. Teoa's massive hand rested carefully on Jiho's shoulder. The child of stone learns to endure storms, not to become them. Slowly, painfully, Jiho pulled his power back. The floating stones dropped. The lights dimmed to normal. The rage didn't disappear, but he contained it, locked it away for now. The Empress looked genuinely disappointed. Pity. I wanted to see what you could really do. She gestured to her soldiers. Take him. Kill the others. I think not. Minji stepped forward, and with her came a dozen more Draconid guards. But these ones aimed their weapons at the Empress's soldiers, not at the prisoners. Empress, by authority of the Military Council, you are hereby under arrest for crimes against the Empire and its citizens. Mutiny? The Empress laughed. From my own guards? You transmitted the truth across military channels. One of Minji's soldiers said, We've seen the classified files. What you've done to conquered species. The genetic experiments. The massacres. We can't serve someone like you. The Empress's expression turned cold. Then you'll die with the rest. She raised one clawed hand, and energy crackled around her fingers. I have one final card to play. She moved faster than Jiho could track, covering the distance to a control panel on the chamber's wall in a single leap. Her hand slammed down on a red crystal embedded in the panel. Alarms changed pitch. The countdown that had shown 90 minutes suddenly accelerated. Now it showed 5 minutes. Then 4. 3. The shattered destiny protocol. Varetha's voice filled with horror. She activated it. That's not just a self-destruct. It's a weapon that will sterilize half this galaxy. The Empress spread her wings. If I cannot rule, then no one will. Better destroy everything than to lose control. She looked at Jiho one last time. You could have stopped this, little maker, but you chose mercy over power. How human of you. How foolish. Geo closed his eyes and let his consciousness sink into the Citadel systems. The physical world disappeared. His body remained standing in the chamber, hands pressed to the floor, but his mind plunged downward through layers of technology and ancient code. It felt like falling through water, except the water was made of light and information. Data streams flowed past him in rivers of glowing symbols. He saw prisoner records, security protocols, weapon systems, all the machinery that kept the Citadel functioning. But beneath all that, deeper still, he found something else. Memories. They weren't his memories. They were older than the Citadel, older than the Draconic Empire, older than anything Geo had ever imagined. They flooded into his mind like a dam breaking. He saw Earth, but not the Earth he knew. This Earth had cities that floated in the sky, oceans that humans had taught to sing, mountains carved into shapes of impossible beauty. And the humans themselves, they didn't just live on this world. They shaped it with their thoughts, bending reality to their will as easily as breathing. The Makers. Geo watched as these ancient humans reached out to the stars. They didn't build ships. They simply decided space should bend around them. And it did. They visited dead worlds and brought them to life. They found primitive species and helped them evolve. They wrote new laws of physics in corners of the universe where the old laws didn't work quite right. They were gods in everything but name. You see now, Veritha's presence joined him in the data stream. His voice surrounded Geo like a warm blanket. This is what humanity was, what you could be again. But the vision continued, and it turned dark. The Makers grew proud. Some believed they should rule the species they'd helped create. Others believed every species should be free. Arguments became conflicts. Conflict became war. Geo watched in horror as humans fought humans across the galaxy. They unmade worlds they created. They turned physics itself into weapons. Stars exploded because Makers willed them to. Entire solar systems simply ceased to exist, erased from reality by beings who had forgotten their compassion. The war lasted 1,000 years. When it ended, half the galaxy was dead. The surviving Makers looked at what they'd done and felt something they'd forgotten. Fear. Fear of themselves. Fear of their own power. So they scattered. They used the last of their united strength to hide themselves across the cosmos. They suppressed their own genes, locked away their abilities, and chose to become ordinary. They became refugees on distant worlds, slowly forgetting what they'd been, becoming human in the smaller sense, mortal, limited, safe. We chose to forget, Geo whispered. We were too dangerous to ourselves. Yes, Vera confirmed. And I was created in those final days, a guardian to watch over the sleeping potential of humanity, to wait for the day when your people will return to the stars, hopefully wiser than before. The memories shifted. Geo saw the rise of the Draconic Empire. He saw them find the ruins of human civilization and build their own power on top of it. He saw them discover the truth about the Makers and decide that humans must never be allowed to remember. Every human colony was monitored. Any sign of awakening abilities was crushed immediately. The dragons, Geo said, remembering his question. What about the prisoners you call dragons? Vareth showed him. The beings imprisoned in the Citadel weren't dragons at all. They were survivors from dozens of different species, the ones the Empire had conquered over thousands of years. Each had resisted. Each had refused to submit. And some of them remembered the old days, when Makers walked among them as friends and teachers instead of conquerors. The Empire called them dragons as an insult, Vareth explained. Myths, legends, things that don't really exist. But they do exist. They're the last voices of truth in a galaxy built on lies. Geo's consciousness reached the core of the Citadel. The shattered Destiny protocol pulsed before him like a malevolent heart. He could see its code, its purpose. It wasn't just a weapon to destroy the Citadel. It was designed to create a chain reaction that would sterilize every world within 50 light years. Billions would die. The countdown showed 30 seconds. I can't stop it, Geo said, panic rising. The code is too complex. I don't know how. You don't need to stop it, Vera said quietly. You're a maker, Geo. You don't follow the rules. You rewrite them. I don't know how. Yes, you do. Stop thinking like a human. Start thinking like what you truly are. Jiho looked at the protocol again. It was just code. Code was just instructions. Instructions were just thoughts, decisions about how reality should work. He reached out not with his hands, but with his mind, with his will. The protocol resisted. It was designed to be unstoppable, unchangeable. But Jiho didn't try to change it through normal means. He simply decided it should be different. The code began to shift. Instructions rewrote themselves. The countdown stopped at 15 seconds. But Jiho didn't stop there. Why just stop the weapon when he could transform it into something better? He poured his intentions into the code. Not destruction, but liberation. Not death, but freedom. The protocol's energy, meant to sterilize worlds, redirected itself. It would still spread across space, but instead of killing, it would break chains. Every control mechanism the Empire had built, every slave collar, every surveillance system, every genetic lock designed to keep conquered species obedient, would simply stop working. Clever boy, Vera said with approval. You're not just saving lives. You're ending an empire. But someone else was there in the data stream. Jiho felt another consciousness slam into his. Powerful, ancient, and furious. The Empress. You think you're special? Her voice echoed through the digital space. I'm half human myself, child. A hybrid created generations ago as insurance. If humanity ever returned, the Empire would have one of its own to counter them. Her presence took form in the data stream, a figure of golden light and shadow. She moved toward Jiho with impossible speed. I've spent 300 years mastering abilities you're just discovering. You can't win, boy. You can't even comprehend what I can do. She attacked, not with weapons, but with pure will. The data stream around them became a battlefield where thoughts were weapons and beliefs shaped reality. She created walls of fire. Jiho turned them to water. She summoned creatures of living code. He erased them with a gesture. They fought across the digital landscape, their powers reshaping the space around them. Above, in the physical world, the citadel shook. Reality itself bent and twisted as two makers clashed. But Jiho was young, untrained. The Empress had centuries of experience. She began to overwhelm him, pushing his consciousness back, crushing his will under the weight of her own. You see, she laughed, power without training is nothing. Surrender, boy. Let me study you. Perhaps together we can rebuild something even greater than the Empire. No. Jiho's voice was weak. He was losing. He could feel himself being pushed out of the core systems, his control slipping away. Then Vera spoke, his voice sad but certain. Jiho, I'm sorry. I must show you the final gift. The one I hoped you'd never need. What gift? The quantum realm was unlike anything in the physical world. Jiho found himself floating in a space where up and down had no meaning. The protocol existed here not as machinery or even code, but as living mathematics woven directly into the fabric of reality itself. Threads of light and probability stretched in every direction, pulsing with deadly purpose. Veritha's consciousness had merged with his own completely now. Jiho could feel the Guardian's presence like a second heartbeat, feel 10,000 years of memories settling into his mind. It was overwhelming and perfect all at once. The Empress materialized across from him. In this space, she didn't look like a draconid. Her form shifted constantly. Sometimes human, sometimes reptilian, sometimes something in between. Her true nature revealed at last. So the child learns the truth, she said, her voice echoing from multiple directions. Yes, I'm a hybrid. Created 300 years ago when the Empire first found human genetic material in ancient ruins. They needed someone who could counter your kind if you ever returned. They needed me. They made you a slave, Jiho said quietly. Her form flickered with anger. They made me powerful. I took their gift and became their ruler. I turned their tool into their master. And now I'm the only one who understands both species. I could have united the galaxy under true strength. Under tyranny, you mean? Under order. She thrust her hand forward, and reality obeyed. Walls of solid light materialized around Jiho, closing in to crush him. But he didn't panic. Veritha's knowledge flowed through him. He simply thought the walls away, and they dissolved like mist. The Empress snarled and attacked again. This time she created creatures, monsters made of pure thought and mathematics. They had too many teeth, too many claws, shapes that hurt to look at. They rushed toward Geo from all sides. He responded by imagining safety. The monsters hit an invisible barrier and shattered into equations that scattered like startled birds. This was the true power of makers. They didn't just use reality. They negotiated with it. They convinced the universe to work differently. Clever, the Empress admitted. But you're still just a child playing with forces you barely understand. I've had centuries to master this realm. She was right. Jiho could feel her experience bearing down on him. Every attack she made was precise, practiced. She moved through the quantum space like a dancer who knew every step. Jiho was improvising, drawing on Veritha's knowledge but not yet truly understanding it. She created fire that burned without heat, conceptual fire that consumed possibilities rather than matter. Jiho turned it to water, but she was already moving, already attacking from another angle. She summoned gravity wells that tried to trap his consciousness. He made himself lighter than thought and slipped free, but each escape took effort. She was wearing him down. You see, the Empress's laugh echoed through the mathematical space. You have power, but I have skill. Surrender now and I'll make your death quick. The protocol will still activate. Half the galaxy will become a tomb, but at least you won't have to watch. Around them, space itself warped and twisted. Their battle was affecting reality beyond the quantum realm. In the physical citadel, walls cracked. Gravity reversed itself in random corridors. The prisoners and guards still inside felt reality becoming uncertain, as if the universe couldn't quite decide what the rules were anymore. Jiho felt himself weakening. The Empress was right. She was too experienced, too practiced. He couldn't beat her this way. He couldn't win by fighting on her terms. So he changed the terms. You're right, Jiho said, stopping his defense. I can't beat you in a direct fight. The Empress paused, suspicious. What are you doing? Something you never learned. Jiho smiled, and in that smile was Veritha's wisdom, his parents' courage, and humanity's oldest truth. I'm choosing a different kind of strength. He reached into the protocol's code, but not to fight it or change it through force. Instead, he simply asked it what it wanted to be. He listened to the mathematics, felt the intention that had been programmed into it. Destruction, protection through annihilation, the ultimate failsafe. And then he offered it something else. A different purpose, a better dream. The protocol responded. It wanted to be useful, not destructive. It wanted to matter. Every created thing wants to serve some purpose. Jiho showed a new way. The Empress screamed and attacked with everything she had. Fire, darkness, creatures of nightmare. She threw the full force of her 300 years of experience at him. But Jiho wasn't fighting anymore. He was creating. And creation was always stronger than destruction. The protocol began to transform. Its deadly energy redirected, repurposed. Instead of a weapon that would sterilize worlds, it became a wave of liberation that would spread across space at light speed. Every control collar, every genetic lock, every surveillance system the Empire had built, all would simply stop functioning. No! The Empress's form became unstable, flickering between shapes. You're destroying everything I built. I'm freeing everyone you enslaved. She rushed at him one final time, but her hybrid nature betrayed her. The human part of her consciousness recognized what Jiho was doing, recognized it as right. The draconic part wanted to stop him, but the human part hesitated. That moment of internal conflict was all Jiho needed. Veritha's final gift activated. The Guardian's remaining consciousness surged forward, wrapping around the Empress like chains of light, not to hurt her, but to hold her, to force her to confront both halves of herself. Let me show you, Veritha's voice whispered, already fading. Let me show you what you could have been. He poured memories into her, not his own, but those of the ancient makers. The good times before the war, when humans had helped other species reach the stars, when power had been used to nurture, not dominate. when the galaxy had been a place of wonder instead of fear. The Empress's form solidified into something more human than draconid. Tears streamed down her face, the first tears she'd shed in 300 years. I forgot, she whispered. I had human memories once, before the Empire trained them out of me, before I learned to hate what I was. Veritha's presence was almost gone now, dissolving into the quantum foam. Then remember, choose what you'll be, tyrant or teacher, destroyer or healer. Choose. And then he was gone, completely. The guardian who had waited 10,000 years had given everything to make this moment possible. Geo felt the absence like losing a friend, even though he'd only known Vera for hours. The knowledge remained, but the person, the consciousness that had been Verith, had ceased to exist. The Empress looked at Geo across the transformed protocol. Her expression was complicated. Grief, anger, relief, and something that might have been hope. You win, she said quietly. Not because you're stronger, because you're better. Reality snapped back. Geo gasped as his consciousness returned to his body. He was still in the chamber on level 12. Hands pressed the floor, but only seconds had passed. Around him, his allies were frozen in defensive positions, ready to protect him.